Hare Krishna. Welcome all the devotees for today's session on Srimad Bhagwatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति भवती नैष्टिकी। Hare Krishna. Now today we continuing Srimad Bhagwatam's Canto 11, Chapter 9, Detachment from All That is Material. Shloka number 14 to 24. एकारी अनिकेतः स्यात् अप्रमत्तः गुहा आशयः अलक्ष्यमाणः आचार्यैः मुनिः एक अल्पभाषणः गृह आरंभ हि दुःखाय विफल च अध्रुव आत्मनः सर्प प्रकृतं वेश्म प्रविश्य सुखम एधते। एकः नारायणः देवः पूर्वसृष्टं स्वमायया संवृत्ते कालकलया कल्प अन्ते इदम् ईश्वरः एक एव अद्वितीयः अभूत आत्मधाराः अखिल आश्रयः। कालेन आत्म अनुभवेन साम्यं नितः सुशक्तिषु सत्व आदिषु आदि पुरुषः प्रधान पुरुष ईश्वरः पर अवराणां परम आस्ते कैवल्य संगीतः केवल अनुभव आनंद संदोह निरुपाधिकः। के केवल आत्म अनुभवेन स्वमायां त्रिगुण आत्मिकं संक्षोभयन् सृजति आदौ तया सूत्रम् अरिन्दम् ताम ताम आहु त्रिगुण व्यक्तिं सृजति विश्वतः मुखम् यस्मिन् प्रथम इदं विश्वम् येन संसरते पुमान्। यथा ऊर्णनाभिः हृदय हृदयात् ऊर्णं सन्तत्य वक्त्रतः तया विवृत्य भूयतां ग्रसति एवं मह ईश्वरः यत्र मनः देहि धारयेत् सकलं धिया स्नेहात् द्वेषात् भयात् वा अपि याति तत्तत् स्वरूपताम्। कीटोऽपिशस्कृतं ध्यायन् कुण्ड्यां तेन प्रवेशित याति तत्सम आत्मतां राजन् पूर्वरूपम् असन्त्यजन् एवं गुरुभ्य एतेभ्यः एषा मे शिक्षिता मतिः स्व आत्म उपशिक्षितां बुद्धिं शृणु मे वदतः प्रभो। ट्रांसलेशन एंड purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A saintly person should remain alone and constantly travel without any fixed residence. Being alert, he should remain secluded and should act in such a way that he is not recognized or noticed by others. Moving without companion, he should not speak more than required. When a person living in a temporary material body tries to construct a happy home, the result is fruitless and miserable. The snake, however, enters a home that has been built by others and prospers happily. The Lord of the universe, Narayan, is the worshipable God of all living entities. Without extraneous assistance, the Lord creates this universe by his own potency. And at the time of annihilation, the Lord destroys the universe through his personal expansion of time and withdraws all of the cosmos, including all the conditioned living entities within himself. Thus, his unlimited self is the shelter and reservoir of all potencies. The subtle pradhan, the basis of all cosmic manifestation, is conserved within the Lord and is in this way not different from him. In the aftermath of annihilation, the Lord stands alone. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead displays his own potency in the form of time and guides his material potencies, such as the mode of goodness, into a neutral condition of equilibrium, he remains as the supreme controller of the neutral state called Pradhan, as well as of the living entities. He is also the supreme worshipable object for all beings, including liberated souls, demigods, and ordinary conditioned souls. The Lord is eternally free from any material designation, and he constitutes the totality of spiritual bliss, which one experiences by seeing the Lord's spiritual form. The Lord thus exhibits the fullest meaning of the word liberation. O subduer of the enemies, at the time of creation, the personality of Godhead expands his own transcendental potency in the form of time and agitating his material energy, Maya, composed of the three modes of material nature, he creates the Mahat Tattva. According to great sages, that which is the basis of the three modes of material nature and which manifests the variegated universe is called the Sutra or Mahat Tattva. Indeed, this universe is resting within that Mahatva, and due to its potency, the living entity undergoes material existence. Just as from within himself the spider expands thread through his mouth, plays with it for some time, and eventually swallows it. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands his personal potency from within himself. Thus, the Lord displays the network of cosmic manifestation, utilizes it according to his purpose, and eventually withdraws it completely within himself. If out of love, hate, or fear, the embodied soul fixes his mind with intelligence and complete concentration upon a particular bodily form, he will certainly attain the form that he is meditating upon. O king, once forced a wicker insect to enter his hive and kept him trapped there. In great prayer, the weak insect constantly meditated upon his captor, and without giving up his body, he gradually achieved the same state of existence as the wasps. Thus, one achieves a state of existence according to one's constant concentration. O king, from all these spiritual masters, I have acquired great wisdom. Now, please listen as I explain what I learned from my own body. Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The previous narration concerning the shell bracelets of the young girl demonstrated that even saintly person engaged in ordinary yoga process should remain alone to avoid conflict of disturbance. In other words, persons engaged in ordinary yoga process should not even associate with each other. This verse indirectly refers to the serpent who, fearing attack from human beings, keeps himself secluded. From this example, we learn that a saintly person should not associate with ordinary materialistic people. He should also avoid having a fixed residence and should wander unnoticed by others. Our engagement in material existence is the cause of our unhappiness. Such engagement destroys the real purpose of our life. Krishna consciousness somehow or other, one must give up the deep-rooted attachment to material society, friendship, and love. One must practice detachment, and by surrender to the principle of Krishna consciousness, one auspicious life will begin. By organizing one's life according to the Varnashram system, one can take the first step in self-realization. In other words, one should accept an honest occupation and regulate his sex life, either by giving it or entirely as a brahmachari or sannyasi, or by living as a householder. Without regulating one's occupation and personal life, there will be chaos and it will be very difficult to make spiritual advancement. The attachment to material society, friendship, and love are based on a long previous experience in the material world. They are great obstacles in the path of transcendental understanding. And if one maintains them, spiritual progress will be most difficult. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught by his example and precepts what a devotee should and should not do. And obedience to such principles brings one to the path of supreme perfection. Thus, one has to rise above ordinary social custom, which directs the living entity toward useless sense gratification. The snake does not have the proclivity to build his own home, but rather lives in a suitable place constructed by other creatures. Thus, he does not entangle himself in the labor of home building. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out that although materialistic persons take unlimited pains to invent and mass produce electricity, automobiles, airplanes, etc., ultimately these things are meant for the convenience of the Vaishnavas who are preaching Krishna consciousness. The karmis will always go to such trouble, and the devotees will always offer such laborious production to the Supreme Personality of God by engaging them in His loving service. The devotees, being concerned with the ultimate perfection of life, do not personally struggle for material advancement. On the other hand, there is no need for the devotees to artificially imitate the austere lifestyle of ancient times. A devotee's goal is simply to serve Krishna as nicely as possible. Therefore, the devotees willingly accept beautiful mentions and all types of material opulences, not with any personal attachment, but only so that these things can be engaged in the loving service of the Lord. If one engages such things with a desire to enjoy them, one falls down from the platform of pure devotional service. Materialistic persons are only interested in exploiting their so-called yoga practice in order to rejuvenate their sexual potency or to vainly remember their previous conditions lives, thus applying mysticism to the endless search for sense gratification. They do not understand the actual goal of human life. As will be explained in verse 21 of this chapter, the Lord's independent creation and annihilation of the universe can be compared to the spiders creating and withdrawing his web. The word "ek" or one alone is mentioned twice in this verse to emphasize that there is only one supreme personality of Godhead, and that all universal affairs as well as spiritual pastime are conducted by his potency alone. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this verse refers to Karanodakshai Vishnu or Mahavishnu lying in the causal ocean. The words Atmadhara or and Akhila Ashraya both indicate that Narayan is the reservoir or shelter of existence. Atmadhara indicates that the Lord's personal body is the shelter of everything. Mahavishnu is a plenary portion of Lord Krishna, the original supreme personality from whose body expand the innumerable potencies that manifest the material and spiritual worlds. According to the Brahma Samhita, these innumerable words rest within the Brahma Jyoti or spiritual effulgence, also emanating from the Lord's body. Thus, Krishna is Ishwar, the supreme controller. One who fixes his mind in the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead gets immediate relief from the web of material anxiety, because the Lord's transcendental form is completely free of any material contamination or designation. Less intelligent person accept the illogical doctrine that the Lord is transformed into his creation and maintains no separate individual existence. They falsely imagine that they can merge their individuality into the universal oneness and become exactly equal to the supreme personality of Godhead. However, in the opinion of Srimad Bhagwatam, the personality of Godhead is not impersonal but is instead full of all transcendental qualities. The three modes of material nature constitute his inferior energy, and the omnipotent impactor upon which the modes rest is the personal expansion of the Lord. Thus, the Lord creates, maintains, and annihilates the material manifestation and yet remains completely apart from it. The conditioned soul who desire to exploit the Lord's inferior creation are impelled by the personality of Godhead to do so, and thus they become imitation enjoyers in the temporary world of matter. But when one gains practical experience that the gross and subtle material bodies are simply covering of the eternal soul, one gives up the foolishness of material attachment and becomes attached to the supreme personality of Godhead. He realizes that his constitutional position is neither to enjoy matter nor merge into the Lord's existence. His real nature is that he is a servant of God. Service rendered to the Lord is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. And by the potency of such service, one becomes liberated and his activities become glorious. Such service is eternal and gradually promotes one to the platform of Keval Anubhavananda Sandoha, or merging into the ocean of bliss by seeing the transcendental personal form of the Lord. The word Keval means pure and indicates that the Lord's Kala or Kal Shakti or time potency is a transcendental energy, non-different from his personal body. The Brahmana addresses King Yadu here as Arindam, subduer of the enemies. This indicates that although the topic of Maya or illusory creation is being discussed, the king need not worry, because as a staunch devotee of the Lord, he is able to subdue the real enemies of life. namely lust, anger, and greed, which make one a prisoner in Maya's kingdom. The word Sutram indicates the Mat Tattva, on which many material creations rest, just like jewels rest on a thread. In the state of pradhan or material equilibrium, the modes of nature do not interact. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagwatam, Lord Kapila explained in his Sankhya teaching that the Supreme Personality of Godhead agitate the neutral state of nature and thus creation takes place. The created manifest form of nature in which primitive activities are stimulated is called Mahatattva, as indicated in this verse. If one tries to renounce the illusory creation of the Lord by taking shelter of impersonal Vedanta philosophy, thus artificially equating the infinite consciousness of the Lord and the infinitesimal consciousness of the conditioned soul, one's analysis will fall far short of reality. The word Swamam in this verse indicates that the illusory potency that covers the conditioned souls is always subordinate to the Lord, whose consciousness is infallible and infinite, and who is always a person. The cosmic manifestation is a reality because it emanates from the supreme reality, the personality of Godhead. The material world, however, is temporary and full of problems. The conditioned soul foolishly tries to become the Lord of this inferior creation and becomes separated from his real friend, the Supreme Lord. In this state, his only business is material sense gratification and his real knowledge is lost. One who is intelligent obtains spiritual knowledge even from an insignificant creature like the spider. Thus, transcendental knowledge is visible everywhere. For one whose eyes are open in Krishna consciousness, from this verse, it is not understand that if one constantly meditates upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will achieve a spiritual body just like that of the Lord. The Lord, Dhiya, with intelligence, indicates complete intellectual conviction in a particular understanding. And similarly, the word Sakala indicates one pointed attention of the mind. With such complete absorption of consciousness, surely one will attain in the next life a form exactly like that upon which one was meditating. This is another example learned from the insect kingdom as explained in the following verse. The following question may be raised since the weaker insect in his story did not physically change his body. How can it be said that he achieved the same state of existence as the wasps? Actually, by constant meditation upon a particular object, one's consciousness becomes filled with its qualities. Due to extreme fear, the smaller insect was absorbed in the characteristics and activities of the large wasps and thus enter into the existence of the wasps. Due to such meditation, he actually took the body of a wasp in his next life. Similarly, although we are conditioned souls, if we absorb our consciousness in Lord Krishna, we can become liberated even before giving up our present body. If our intelligence becomes steady on the spiritual platform by understanding that Lord Krishna is everything, then we can give up necessary consciousness of the external body and absorb ourselves in the spiritual pastimes of Vaikuntha. Thus, even before death, one can raise oneness to the spiritual platform. and enjoy life as a liberated soul. Or if one is stubborn fool, then even in this life, one can become just like an animal, such as a hog or a dog, constantly thinking of eating and sex life. But human life is actually meant for understanding the science of consciousness and the future result of our meditation. Thus end the purpose. Now prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya चक्षुः उन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः श्री चैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपद अन्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्री गुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्री गुरून् वैष्णवाञ्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांच नमो ओम विष्णु पादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देशतारिणे वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा दंडोत pranam. Today's verses are very important because in this shlokas describe about how we will become Krishna consciousness and how we detachment from our material life, that giving they discuss the example of the waves and others also. They told us in nicely discussed in this shlokas. Here they told that we try to understand Srimad Bhagwatam Canto 11 chapter 9, detachment from all that is material. Chapter's name is that material, which materials things are, we detached from that, those things. Very important detachment coming in us from material things. A saintly person should remain alone and constantly travel without any fixed residence, being alert, and should remain secluded, and secluded means alone, and should in such a way wonder that no one can recognize him and not noticed by others also, and he has nothing take with him any companion, and he should not also speak more without requirement. Then here told that our engagement in material existence is the cause of our unhappiness, and such engagement destroys the real purpose of our life, which is Krishna consciousness. And so how we must give up the deep rooted attachment to material society friendship and love is very important to know. We must practice detachment, and how we practice to take the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there are great obstacles in the path of transcendental understanding if one not maintain or from material things. Spiritual progress will be most difficult if he is not uh, uh, taking the surrender of Krishna and detaching from the material opulences or material things. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also taught us by his behavior how we he precept what a devotee should and should not do. They told what devotees do and what not do. In next sloka, they told that this our material body is temporary, and uh, man try for this material body to construct a happy home, and that he taking so many pains or suffering, and that is the result is fruitless and miserable. But here they comparing the snakes. What do snake enters a home which built by the another creature. He not taking any uh, extra shrums, or his proclivity is not to build his own house, and he lives nicely. Here they also told that a devotee's goal is simply to serve Krishna as nicely as possible. Therefore, devotees willingly accept beautiful mention, but only for the service of the God, not engage engaged in the loving service of self. Then the Lord uh, exists in material world, and so the worshipable God of living entities is the only Narayana. And uh, they explain about the Mahavishnu, Karanodakshai Vishnu, Atmadhara, and Atma Atma Ashraya. About those things they explain in that shloka. And lastly, um, we know about the uh, one uh, kid which is uh, uh, trapped by the waves, and because of weaker insect, and because great fear, he is constantly meditating upon captor means waves, and that he became, without giving his body, he became achieved the same state of existence as the waves, uh, like that they describe. Though so if we constantly chanting of Hare Krishna and remembering Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, why we not become the up to reach the state of Krishna? We also realize, we also understand the Krishna consciousness importance, and would we also understanding the science of consciousness. Our life is only the result of our meditation, and we success in our life. And ahead, what again Avduta learned from his own body, that we'll discussing and we try understand tomorrow. uh, Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam. Vancha kalpaturbecha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Prabhuji will told you, tell us.
Hare Krishna. Dandot Pranam Mataji. Apologize, I couldn't see myself there speaking on this topic because this topic itself is so deep that the more you think about it, the more you feel how useless I am. Like the very first thing which came here in, that a saintly person should remain alone and he should be one who is constantly traveling, being alert, remaining secluded, and ensuring he is doing a seva which is not recognized or noticed by others, not speaking more than what is required. But practically, when we are thinking about our lives, we are doing almost exactly the reverse of what this scriptural shloka is talking about and explaining to us. We like to remain static, happy with whatever little we have achieved. We want to be always recognized, always praised. We want more and more people to be with us. We want to keep on speaking of whatever little success we have got. And that the shloka now makes us understand is the root cause why we are not growing further in our spiritual journey. Because spiritual journey requires that we have determination. Tat tat karma pravartana. Irregular practice, inconsistency is something which is going to make us stand still. So, what is important is that we follow the regulative principles. We have a daily routine established. We set realistic goals and gradually increase the intensity of practice. We need to be determined in face of obstacles, remembering the importance of the spiritual journey. Because we are living in this temporary material body. And here we cannot try to construct a happy home. The result is fruitless, miserable. And that is where the Avduta is speaking about the snake, how he enters a home that has been built by others and prospers happily. We also see in these shlokas about Lord Narayan being the worshipable God of all living entities. How Lord has created this whole universe and how at the time of annihilation the Lord is going to destroy it, withdrawing all the cosmos. So this again makes us re-establish, re-understand that we are but subservient to Lord. It is Lord's unlimited shelf, which is our shelter, who is the reservoir of all potencies. So if you want to be away from miseries, from distress, then we need to be with Lord in His supreme abode, which is Satchidananda. Because with His own potency in the time, in the form of time and the material potencies, He is able to bring about equilibriums. He is the supreme controller. That is why He is called Pradhan. And He is the supreme worshipable. He is free from any material designation. He is the one totality of spiritual bliss. And that is why, if we want liberation, we need to be with Him. Nowhere else we can be free from His material energy, which is Maya, which with the modes of, with the three modes of material nature keeps us poking. So even the great sages, they have described Mahat Tattva, how it is created as that which is the basis of the three modes of material nature. So this whole universe, the sages say, is within, resting within the Mahat Tattva. And we are material existence because of its potency. And that is where the learning from the spider comes into picture. Like the spider expands thread from his mouth, plays with it for some time, and then swallows it. Similarly, Lord expands his personal potency within himself. He shows these cosmic manifestations, utilizes it, and then withdraws it. So this is something which is happening continuously and is going to be continual. But what we do is we don't understand it, and we think that this temporary world is the truth, while actually it is an illusion. And then the story of the wasp starts, which is going to be very, very important, because what wasp does is it forces weaker insects to enter his hive and keep them trapped. Now, in great fear of the weak insect, the insect gives up his body and he gradually achieved the same state of existence as the wasp. So, whatever we constantly concentrate upon, we achieve similar state of existence. So, it becomes important what we concentrate about. Because if we concentrate on Lord, then we'll achieve Lord. If we concentrate on anything else, then we'll achieve everything else. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita, if you remember, there is one shloka wherein uh, uh, it is said about Yanti Deva Vrata Devan Pitruyanti Pitruvrata Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja Yanti Madhyajino Apimam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth from amongst the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth amongst such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. And worship means concentration, always meditating upon that particular thing. So if you want to be with Krishna, we need to meditate upon Krishna. Keep him worshipping. And the worship in Kali Yuga is Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It is important that we chant regularly, minimum 16 rounds, pray to Krishna, and continue on our journey.